I feel like I'm just another singer or guitar player. I would tell him to pick cotton for a few days and then get back to me. You start to change your mind about how your story should end when you've lived as long and bravely as Willie Nelson. Here, at age 92, the country star talks about his funeral in a way that only he can. Music that is honest, reflective, and shockingly direct. But it's not just how he wants to be remembered that has everyone shocked. He has made it clear that he doesn't want those people to be at the music when that day comes. These decisions aren't based on anger or news stories. They come from something much more profound. And hearing Willie explain his thinking gives us a clear picture of the values that have led him throughout his life. The early years of Willie. The story of Willie Nelson starts in Abbott, Texas, on April 29, 1933. That's the date that most people agree on, because of a mistake with the papers at the hospital late at night. His whole life, people have been unsure of whether he was born before or after midnight. Willie didn't worry about it. He did what he always does. He turned it into a party, and now every year his birthday lasts for 2 days. Myle and Ira Nelson had him. They were both teenagers trying to make it through the Great Depression, when it seemed like a daily fight just to stay alive. They had 2 kids, Willie and music, and money was always tight. Ira, his father, moved around Texas looking for work as a mechanic wherever he could find it. His mother, on the other hand, was often left alone and dealing with everything. When there was no more work, people turned to cotton picking, which meant long, hard days of singing in the fields. Because Willie knew what that life was like even when he was a little boy. He didn't want it. Making music quickly turned into a job. It turned into his plan to get away. Willie's life was cut short by heartbreak early on. Early in life, 2 events changed him in ways he couldn't fully understand. His parents split up when he was a baby, and for a short time after that. His mother left for good. Even though his dad got married again, Willie and his sister Bobby were sent to live with their dad's parents. Even though it hurt to be apart from her, it made his life better in the end. His grandparents gave him a solid base. They pushed him to sing in church, fed his love of music, and gave him something that would shape his whole life. He got his first guitar and the music to help him learn how to play it. Willie would remember his very first time playing in front of a crowd years later. He was probably 5 or 6 years old and was standing on stage reading a poem. For a kid that age, he had a lot of attitude. He was wearing a clean white sailor suit with red trim, but he was so worried that he picked his nose, which caused a nosebleed that bad the outfit. It was weird, messy, and something I will never forget. An early sign that the stage was where his whole life would play out, flaws and all. His grandfather got him his first guitar around the same time. Not long after that, bad things happened. He got pneumonia and died within a week. His grandfather was a cobbler who had a great singing voice and an even bigger sense of music. It was the first time Willie really saw death, and he was only 6 years old. It hurt a lot to lose them. Bob and Willie saw their parents for a short time after the funeral, but nothing had changed. When they stayed with their grandma, things were very bad. In the winter, it got so cold that people stuck newspapers to the walls to keep the heat inside. Willie never thought of himself as unlucky, though. The guitar his grandfather had given him a few months before made him think he had already gotten the best gift possible. The things his grandmother did picked up where her husband left off. She made sure Willie stayed in the Methodist church, which always encouraged and helped him with his art. She died later, when Willie was still a youngster, and it was a terrible loss. He was still sad, but he wasn't just a kid anymore. He already had a job as a drummer and knew what he wanted to do. Willie began writing songs when he was very young. He wrote his first song when he was only 7 years old. He didn't talk about it for years because he thought it was too corny. But the music that made him do it said everything about who he was becoming. The song came about because his grandma gave him and his sister gold stars when they practiced music. When one of them was taken away, Willie turned it into a song about loss. He wrote about loss long before he felt real emotional pain. By the time he was 9, Willie was making a living playing guitar in a band in Pennsylvania. His grandma was worried about him drinking at those gigs, but she understood his love for music and let him go. He fell in love with music early on and couldn't get rid of it. Still, he wasn't a kid who only did one thing. Willie played football, basketball, baseball, and music in high school. He also did farm work and any other weird job he could find. He worked as a phone operator, tree trimmer, pawn shop clerk, bar bouncer, saddle maker, and dishwasher before he became famous. He stayed busy, eager, and interested. When he was done with high school, he joined the U.S. Air Force in 1950. That part didn't last very long. After less than a year, an honorable release was given because of ongoing back problems. Not having a clear plan and not having much money, Willie moved around. In the end, he chose to go to Portland, Oregon, to be with his mother again. He didn't have any money or a way to get home. He tried to get a ride, but no one stopped, so he slept in a ditch that night. He got on a freight train the next day and rode it as far as he could. A nice truck driver, Music, saw him along the way, gave him some money for a bus ticket, and helped him finish the trip. Willie Nelson thought about quitting the music business for good after a few early attempts that didn't go as planned. He had to have stable money. He changed careers and, to his surprise, was very good at sales. He sold Bibles and vacuum cleaners door to door and worked his way up until he was in charge of sales for a company that made encyclopedias. It looked like a nice break from music on paper. But music never really let him go. If Willie ever found himself singing in a bar again, the pull came back strong. Not long after, he got a job at KBOP, a small radio station. He himself said that he pretty much talked his way into the job. His mornings began early, and he often had a terrible headache from the night before. The real prize, though, was a 30-minute live slot every day where he could sing on TV. It was there that he met Johnny Bush. They hit it off right away, got together, and started playing regularly at a nearby club. They used cover songs a lot to keep people happy, like most young bands do. There was one song that always made the whole place rock. Yesterday. What was wrong was that Willie didn't know that it was already one of the world's most popular songs. He really thought he had found a hidden gem. He had no idea that the Beatles had just sold an unimaginable number of records. He would laugh years later at how sure he was that he was wrong. He made the same mistake again. Years later, Willie was on tour in England and heard a singer that he thought was a great new talent. He was determined to find this singer. It turned out to be Julio Iglesias. He had already sold millions of songs in many languages at that point. It was easy for Willie to do. Almost a year after the rest of the world, they found stars. He also worked for a while as a guitar teacher at a nearby music school around this time. It's hard to believe that some people took lessons from Willie Nelson without knowing that he would become a hero. His singing still wasn't getting him any attention at that point. The real big break came from the songs he wrote. In that moment, country star Farron Young heard Willie sing a song called Hello Walls. Farron saw its potential right away and chose to record it himself. Everything changed because of that one choice. All of a sudden, doors started to open. Soon, big names in music like Roy Orbison, Patti Cline, and Billy Walker were all recording